Sanctions against some ANC leaders are now on the table in Washington. The appropriation bill has been approved to get down to urgent business. More than 100 aid organizations and human rights groups have warned that mass starvation is spreading in Gaza. And saying goodbye to a cultural icon, Ozzy Osbourne. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Another contentious development in the relations between the US and South Africa. The House Foreign Affairs Committee has approved a Republican-led bill calling for sanctions on the ANC for its perceived anti-American stance, identifying its ties with Russia, China and Hamas, and for taking Israel to the International Court of Justice. Democrats warn the move could harm long-term relations. Back home, lobby group AfriForum supports targeted sanctions, not blanket measures. The bill now heads to the full House as pressure mounts on President Ramaphosa to reaffirm South Africa's non-aligned stance. Right down to the wire. The appropriation bill has been passed. That's after a debate in the National Assembly on the bill which appropriates money to all government departments. And despite the two biggest opposition parties, the MK and the EFF, not supporting the bill, describing it as anti-poor and recycled.
The official opposition MK party says the appropriation bill fails to address blockages in the economy like unemployment and funding key frontline services. The party's Sanele Mwali says the government of national unity continues to pursue the same policies, which have also failed to address economic stagnation.
Today, unemployment sits at 42%, with youth sitting at over 60%. Food prices have been rising, with government unable to regulate effectively the food cartels in our country.
EFF MP Ompile Mautwe says the budget is just a copy and paste of previous administrations, which most GNU partners rejected in the past.
We're still not sure why some in the GNU today support this budget, because it is the same budget that was tabled in the past 10 years, and they rejected it in each of those years.
The party says the bill should be amended to increase the health and basic education budgets to employ more doctors and teachers. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News, Cape Town International Convention Centre.
The family of a murdered senior forensic auditor from the city of Ekurhuleni say they're devastated to learn that his accused killer has a history of violent crimes. Tabani Nchali appeared for the first time in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today in connection with the murder of Mpho Mafole. Mafole just wrapped up an investigation into the disappearance of 2 billion rand before he was killed. During court proceedings, it was revealed that Nchali was out on 5,000 rand bail for a separate murder case allegedly committed in September last year.
And those are the most important questions. Why was he killed?
And that's what you're hoping to get today?
Not today. I want to give the police and those who are doing investigation a space so that they can be able to do their job.
The presiding judge in the Senzo Mchunu trial has ordered that one of the accused be moved from the Kgosi Mampuru prison, allowing him to choose which centre he wants to be held at. Proceedings in the Pretoria High Court were delayed this morning after 3 of the accused were late to arrive. The court heard that this was because of one of the 5 accused, Fiso Kuhle Ntuli, was refusing to leave his prison cell, claiming he's been tortured overnight.
Fisokuhle Ntuli claims his move from the B-Max section to C-Max was engineered by dodgy prison warders who wanted to move another inmate by the name of David Ramahale out of the section.
Ngokuthi uDavid bamkhipha isikhathi sakhe sokuthi aphume C-Max singakafiki sebemreplace ngami lapha C-Max. Hayi ukuthi ngitholakale nefoni.
Now that they took away David from C-Max to B-Max, they took him before his time came, and then they replaced him by sacrificing with me.
But Correctional Services Singabakho Nxumalo has dismissed Ntuli's claims. Today, Judge Ratamokwatleng gave Ntuli the option to choose which prison he wants to be remanded in for the sake of progress. Ntuli then opted to be moved to the Leoko prison. Khomza Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
Meat, particularly beef, continues to be the main driver of food inflation. Statistics South Africa says beef prices spiked for a third successive month, with high annual and monthly increases recorded. This is contained in StatSA's latest consumer price inflation report, which showed an increase to 3% in June and comes after it held steady at 2.8% in April and May.
Meat, and particularly beef, continues to be the main driver of food inflation. Beef prices spiked for a third successive month, with high annual and monthly increases recorded for stewing beef, mince and steak.
2 of the 28 young football players and one of the coaches stuck in Portugal after a botched football tour have landed at Cape Town International Airport. 34 young footballers and 4 coaches flew to Spain earlier this month for a football tournament arranged by BT Football Academy. The academy failed to book return flights despite participants paying 50,000 rand each for the trip. Coach Jesse Julius says they're relieved to be home after the generosity of South Africans.
Everyone was on the airport, all the families and kids, because we're departing in one group. On the same morning that we had to depart, we were told that we are flying in 2 groups. So the one group would fly earlier. That would be myself and another coach, which is Coach Clayton. Together with some kids, we would use Qatar Airlines and we would fly into Doha and then from Doha to Madrid.
The DA in Johannesburg says the suspension of Transport MMC Kenny Kunenes from all party activities by the Patriotic Alliance is not enough. This comes after PA leader Gayton McKenzie suspended his deputy for a month. Kunenes will be investigated after he was found at the home of Katiso Katie Molefe, who was arrested on Sunday. Molefe is accused of being the mastermind behind the 2022 killing of Opa Sefoka, popularly known as DJ Sambodi. Kunenes says he was at Molefe's home to facilitate a meeting for journalists from his online publication.
A paid month-long holiday is not an option for Kunenes. Nothing short of his unconditional removal from office will suffice, pending the outcome of both ethics and criminal investigations into his links to suspected murderers.
A potential boom for local content and talent. The Competition Commission has welcomed the Competition Tribunal's conditional approval of a merger between Canal Group and MultiChoice. Canal Group is a French media company responsible for the production, commissioning and supply of TV content to broadcasters in South Africa. The Commission has recommended the tribunal approve the more than 30 billion rand deal subject to certain conditions. Some of these conditions include commitments made by both merger parties to ensure no retrenchments for 3 years.
But also supplier development of over 3 years with focus on expenditure on local content and procurement for SMMEs as well as historically disadvantaged persons, as well as the licensing of international sporting events in which South African national teams or individuals representing South Africa take part to free-to-air broadcasters.
More than 100 aid and human rights groups have warned of mass starvation in Gaza, urging a ceasefire and unrestricted aid access. The US has said its envoy will travel to Europe for talks on a possible ceasefire and aid corridor. Israel denies blocking aid, claiming 950 truckloads are waiting distribution in Gaza. Israeli forces continue operations in Gaza City and the north, targeting what they call terror sites. The UN reports more than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces while seeking food since late May, following the launch of the US and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which has sidelined the UN-led aid system. In a joint statement, 111 organizations, including MSF, Save the Children and Oxfam, said, quote, "Our colleagues and those we serve are wasting away." Tributes have been pouring in for a man who changed the face of music. Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary frontman of heavy metal group Black Sabbath, died on Tuesday at the age of 76. His family announced in a statement.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.